Exactly.
Yeah.
Cyber, did you like the my choice of intro music there?
Not bad. I've heard better, but it was fine.
Oh, you found it. You enjoyed it, Jazz. You liked it.
It was all right. Did the
Well,
track.
hey, Renee, Cyber had been insisting on some rock music. Renee told me that I should get some blues stuff going on, so I went like in the middle. So that's what I ended up with. Shout out to Artlist. Thank you, Artlist, for hooking me up with so many fat ass songs and tracks all the time and whatnot and everything at such a cheap price. I appreciate that shit. That made me affiliate, baby. I want to be a partner too. What up? For real. Folks, what up? MCU's Bleeding Edge, baby. Look who's back. Jazz is here. What up? What up, Jazz?
Hey, how you
Oh,
guys doing?
every time I see her, oh my God. Must be nice.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm getting old. I'm turning 40. I'm getting uglier every fucking day. You know, it's rough. But no, I'm just kidding, folks. What's up, folks? I'm here. Cyber Shark's here. We're the co-hosts of the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast. Our friend Stacy, the host of this Some Real Shit podcast, could not make it tonight. She was busy having a very serious meeting with Jar Jar Binks. And had some business with Jar Jar. And so Jazz decided to step in real quick and jump back on the Bleeding Edge real quick and whatnot. Now that she is over being pissed off at me for talking shit about She-Hulk so much. I'm kidding. But we're doing episode 3 of Andor, baby. Right? We're so legit over here that Andor can be about to be ending, and we're only reviewing episode 3. Because we're just keeping it real. We're having fun. So I'll tell you right at the jump. I'll just ask you guys and shout out everybody. Fucking awesome, dude. Talk about some crazy shit. Me and Cyber don't pay attention that much to our stats and really everything. It kind of sneaks up on us when we hit a milestone. When we hit like 4,000, 4,500 subs. I didn't even realize it, neither did he. I saw it one day randomly. I looked the other day and a half ago. We hit 7,000 subs, baby. Our shit jumped. That's some real shit. Thank you, folks. We appreciate that. We really do. That is freaking awesome, man. I'm telling you right now. I don't know what Cyber was thinking when we started this stuff, but I never thought for a second we'd ever hit 7,000 freaking subscribers. So, thanks to all of you very much. We really appreciate it. Very kind of you. So I know a lot of it has to do with you, Jasmine, of course. At least 1,000 of those are from you. But Jasmine has that kind of presence, Cyber. No, I'm just kidding. But so Jazz, listen, since you're doing our first review of the Andor, tonight, I'll ask you first, right off the bat, what did you think of Andor episode 3? Did you enjoy it? Was it a good episode?
It was all right. It definitely felt like they were just kind of getting straight into the chaos of it all. It was very fast paced. I was like, did I miss something a little bit? Because the way it just kind of took the last 2 episodes and took those 2 plots and threw them together and just rushed right into this one, starting at the jump. I was a little like set back from it, but it was a good episode nonetheless.
And what did you think? Well, Cyber, same question to you. And then what were your thoughts on the actual full introduction of Stellan Skarsgård into the series?
Well, I think it's a decent episode. I enjoyed it. I thought it gave us some more information. I thought it gave us a really nice little rundown of, kind of getting you an idea of who Stellan Skarsgård's character is. And kind of, putting that mystery into, who he really is and why he's interested in Andor. And you kind of get that feeling throughout the whole episode. But he still becomes they become kind of like sidekicks together, which I think was really cool. And then we got our introduction to, Stellan Skarsgård's character in the last episode, but we really get introduced to him in this episode, which was really fantastic. I like how they started him off. I like how Andor and him meet, and I think it was really well done. And I thought Stellan was just, awesome and great as usual.
What did you think, Jazz? I'll tell you, you are younger than Cyber and I. And I'm always a big fan of one of the aspects of the shows, where we do have like a difference in generationally, right, or age-wise, right, in terms of how long maybe you've known an actor like Stellan Skarsgård compared to like maybe Cyber, right? Or maybe he's known her a little bit longer, So what was your take on like him popping up in episode 3? I mean, we saw him at the end of episode 2. We knew from the trailers he was going to be in the series. We didn't know when he was going to become like a full part. Were you excited to have him pop up and like really have?
Yes, definitely. It was enjoyable to see him. He was he's a great actor, so seeing him do stuff that is, I guess, out of his wheelhouse when it comes to being in the Star Wars universe, for me, it was nice. It was fresh. It was fresh. Just seeing him interact and the way that he, the chemistry of him bouncing off of the main character was really nice, and it gave me what I needed. I definitely can't wait to see more and seeing his character, learn more about him and just really find out what he's doing and what he really wants, because Star Wars has a tendency to lead you one way and then take a hard left. So,
Well, I mean, oh geez, why am I echoing? Uh-oh. Yeah, did you hit a button?
oh, me?
I'm echoing. Uh-oh. Is it because I turn my head around backwards? Let me see. Wait. Holy shit, it's gone. It was the hat. How about that shit? Merry Christmas, Cyber. So Luthen, I believe, is how you pronounce his title or whatever and whatnot in the series. Luthen, I think. And what I found interesting about him is that it was his clothing. His robe almost like look. He almost reminds me of friggin' God, how can I not remember his name? The original Star Wars movies. Come on, Simon.
Darth Vader.
No.
Luke. Han Solo.
No.
Chewbacca. Lando.
No.
Which movie was he in?
Like, no.
You're echoing.
Everyone's echoing.
Oh, shit. I'm telling you, this is going to drive me crazy. I cannot remember this guy's name. The guy that trains Luke and finds
Yoda?
No. Before Yoda, the other Jedi.
Oh, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. There. Oh God, how could I? Jeez, man, that's rough. Obi-Wan. He reminded me of Obi-Wan, sort of his outfit, like the robish look to him. You know what I mean? He had that like long coat, almost with that same kind of color, right? I dug that. I did. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know. Personally, I think that it's pretty cool when you think about it too. That the fact that Stellan Skarsgård has actually crossed that line where he's both with Star Wars and Marvel, right? Essentially, like he's been a part of the MCU. Now he's in the Star Wars universe. So, maybe we'll see more, more actors and actresses kind of cross that line, similar to like that DC Marvel, kind of line, right? So basically, and Jazz, to see though, Cavill's not going to be Dr. Doom, yo. Sorry.
Yeah, I heard. Apparently that picture was false or whatever, but it looked real enough to me. But whatever.
Hey, I like him as Superman. So I'll tell you, at some point we're gonna have to figure out where this echo is coming from. It's going in and out. But so essentially, as far as like this episode goes and whatnot, the way that it starts off, if I remember correctly, I believe it starts off with another one of the flashbacks, doesn't it? Cyber, where it goes back to Cassian's, I guess like childhood or whatever with his sister.
Yep.
And again, I find myself. Oh God, that's just driving me crazy. You know, sometimes with those scenes, I find myself a little bit kind of still not completely grasping exactly where they're kind of going with that whole deal. Before I unwind, this is a pretty simple premise, this episode, how things flush out. There's not much to like the whole full story, really. It's very simple. It's a pretty straight line episode. What do you think, Cyber, and then Jasmine? This, going overall across the span of the 3 episodes and starting the show off, what is your vibe, your take on these flashback scenes? Like, what, I mean, are you feeling like you're really getting where they're going with it? Is it doing something for you, Cyber? I mean, are you feeling a connection with it to the story?
Well, I mentioned this in the last 2 reviews we've done. I don't like how they present the flashbacks in this series. I don't like how they just throw it right in. They don't give you any feedback. They don't give you anything like that. So, like, even if they were to say, oh, this was 20 years ago, or this was this time period, would make a bigger impact on these, these flashbacks, because it just kind of rolls into these flashbacks. And, I mean, obviously you're supposed to know that these are flashbacks, I guess. But at the same time, I don't think that how they're presenting them is working out as well as they thought they would. And so personally, they're great, sequences usually that, give you a little bit of information about Andor's past. But at the same time, like I said, it needs to have that kind of like introduction, knowing, oh, this is a, flashback of some sort, so that you're aware of, as you're going into it, that, that's what you're watching, that it's not a part of the same timeline you're already at. And I think that would make it better. But overall, I think they're okay. And, I think they do some good.
What do you think, Jazz? I mean, honestly, is it, are they doing anything?
Personally, I'm not a fan of the flashbacks, the way they present them. Honestly, I would prefer flashbacks be their own episode. That's pretty much how I feel about it, because they kind of just throw them in, and then they appear, and then you continue to where you left off. It sometimes works out, but sometimes it just leaves you a little confused what's current and what's past tense. So really, I honestly prefer I mean, I get what they're going for, but I still would rather have them do like the first part of the episode be a flashback, so that I can get exactly what they're going for and then continue with the story, so I don't have to deal with the back and forth. It's like getting cultural whiplash.
Okay. So would you say it's fair to say that, like, you would agree with me that maybe, well, I mean, for me, I don't even feel like these flashbacks, these connect with me to the story really that much. I don't even really feel any kind of, I get that that's young Cassian or whatever and whatnot, right? But I don't grasp exactly what their purpose is, like as kids or whatever, living in the woods and all that shit. Do you?
Honestly, no. I was confused. I didn't know if that was present, if that was somebody they were trying to get now. I was like, huh? Wait, what happened? I was with this and now I'm here. And I'm like, wait, she looks younger. So, like, I'm like, yeah, I don't care for it. Not really, no.
Cyber, do you have more of like a factual explanation as to what the deal is with that, at least with what's going on with these children or whatever and whatnot? Do you think that's just a part of the kind of the Star Wars universe under the Empire, that you're going to have planets like that, where you're going to have populations that have maybe been devastated, where all the adults are gone?
Well, I mean, honestly, this is supposed to be taking place before Star Wars: A New Hope. So this is supposed to be, years before, you know, the Ren and Ray and all that kind of stuff. And then this is supposed to be before even Luke has started his training, and Obi-Wan is currently in he's not currently in. Oh wait, no, he is. He's currently in hiding right now because this is supposed to be after Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, so you have kind of that time frame there where the Empire has just now come into power, and so I feel there's probably a lot of star systems or definitely planets that were overtaken by the Empire to some extent because as we saw at the end of Revenge of the Sith, they had that historic killing off of all the Jedis, and then basically having all the clone armies come in and basically become stormtroopers, and we're basically going to try to take over the galaxy at some point there. So I wouldn't be surprised if this planet, which is probably considered a special class of people that there's only so many of them that they figured, oh, we shouldn't have these people. They might create more Jedis. So let's get rid of them type of deal. And I think that's probably what was going on with his clan, was that this planet where he is from is something special. And that's why the Empire had a big presence there. And that he was dealing, as a kid, he was dealing with that consequences when the Empire was first coming into power. Because as you can see by this point where we're seeing him as an adult, the Empire has already kind of been established and has some control of reins of what they're doing. So I think that was showing when the Empire was first taking over.
Most definitely. I think you're probably right. And I think that of course, it is important, I think, for you to point out that this does happen and occur before the original Star Wars films timeline. Right, which is interesting to me personally, as sort of a novice Star Wars fan. I'm not a massive Star Wars fan. I won't lie, folks. I'm not super knowledgeable about that stuff compared to a lot of other people, other creators I know that can talk this stuff all day. But so essentially, beyond the flashback scene, like I said, this episode is very, very, very straightforward. It's very straight line. There's not a lot of side dynamics going on at all. It's a very clear cut episode, very direct. Right. And Jasmine mentioned, the energy is a lot faster and more highly paced than the other two episodes combined, I think, at times. But at the same time, though, besides that one really dope Star Wars-esque fucking blaster fight scene and shit, later on in the episode, the pace to me is lying almost in an area where it's similar to some Captain America Winter Soldier type vibe stuff, some espionage, spy, Black Widow, rebellion, revolution type stuff. You know what I mean? And I like that. I dig that. And obviously that is the premise, to some extent. So, essentially, right from jump, we actually, for the first time, get to see, and we do see Casa. I just want to point that out, that we do see Casa exploring the crashed ship, from episode 1 with Cassian in that flashback scene. And, essentially, basically, Marva, if I pronounce it correctly, essentially, is, I mean, that's essentially Casa's mom. And we actually hear Casa start, use her native tongue and whatnot and everything. And like I was saying in the private chat, I don't know about y'all, but for me, I don't know if this was just by Disney Plus, but I actually had some subtitles finally during the flashbacks. I could actually hear understand what they were talking about here and there. And the other episodes, I had no idea. But so basically, coming off of the flashback, we go right into Ferrex, and essentially, you know, we end up with the I believe they're called what, pre-mode. Yes, the security agents / soldiers. They essentially land on, you know, Ferrex and immediately start sweeping, like, essentially the city, or like that civilized hub there, for Cassian directly to arrest him. They know that he's the one that killed the guards, or they're highly clear about it, or feel that he is, and they're on with force, and they're all about it, you know, and the people of Ferrex, we see over time as the episode unfolds, do sort of almost participate and kind of, in a way, almost fight back and rebel on their own. Like, they're almost kind of, I don't want to say prepared, but they you know, they start clanging around on stuff and whatnot and everything, and sort of like causing, you know, creating this buildup, and sort of almost like team up and almost participate along with the other characters that are sort of like dealing with the security forces. So essentially, after the soldiers show up, Bix and Cassian's contact, who of course is Luthen, who arrived at the end of episode 2, you know, walk together to like the meeting spot, you know, and basically the soldiers are touching down at the same time, heading for the city, and they go right to Marva's residence, or like her place of living, her house or whatever, to get Cassian, and kind of just like toss the place completely. You know, and are very aggressive, you know, and like actually put their hands on her and everything and whatnot. And she's very like, you know, like not like very shitty towards them, and like has like does not have much like, you know, like praise, I guess, like for the Empire, and I don't blame her. But basically, Mosk, Sergeant Mosk, who's kind of a badass in this episode, finds a like hidden B2 emo, right? Who like Cassian, I guess, is speaking to, essentially, I don't know, like wirelessly or whatever, whatnot, to the droid, which gives away his position and compromises Marva too. So I'll cut it off there before we get into the Luthen scenes and whatnot and everything, and the, you know, him meeting Cassian the first time. Jazz, what did you think of actually seeing these scenes play out and actually having the security forces in mass like show up, like in force, weaponized and whatnot and everything, looking for Cassian from jump? You know, and what did you think of how they kind of went about their business, like how they tossed you know, Marva's place like that and whatnot, and kind of like put their hands on her and shit and whatnot?
Personally, I thought it was really weird, like watching them be so. They felt like soldiers. They felt like stormtroopers, and for me, I was like, "Oh wow!" They had like a power, a presence, as they went straight for what they were trying to do. And tossing her place, it felt realistic. Like they would have done that in real life. Like toss everything trying to find what they're looking for. Um, Seeing them weaponized and storming down the street, you know, doing what they needed to do, getting to where they wanted to go, was kind of epic for me. I was like, ooh. And then when that guy came down the stairs and got shot and then rolled down, loved it. I was like, yes. I was like, I want you dead after the first episode when you were like following her around. Like, I'm okay. I'm like, bye. No feelings lost here.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Him. So basically, and I honestly, Gavin, I don't think it's perfect, but I do think that for some reason somehow is coming off your end. Just to be clear, but what do you call it? So basically, I want to be clear here. I made a mistake there, folks. I apologize. Cass is not Cassian's sister. He's a boy. I freaking tripped out there for a minute and whatnot and everything. In the flashback scene at the beginning, basically we just see like Cassian go into that like downed Republic ship and shit or whatever and bash some stuff and whatnot and everything, and then Marva shows up, you know, and basically you know, Casa like tries to talk to her and she can't understand, or he can't understand him. I apologize for that, folks. I legitimately got confused there for a moment and whatnot as to who the character was. Marva ends up deciding to take the child and hide him, you know, even though the Empire's in the system. And basically, before we get into Bix and Cassian's contact, you know, Luthen, you know, coming together and whatnot, I want to point out too that essentially Cassian sort of like waits in the shadows for Brasso, and you know, says that he needs to speak to Marva essentially to get his funds. But basically at that point, Cyber, what did you think of the opening scenes with the security forces, the soldiers coming onto the planet, and the whole, you know, aspect of them entering Marva's place and her disposition towards them, right? And her sort of like disdain.
I mean, the kind of the introduction to them coming to the planet was kind of cool because we got to see that cool spaceship that they came in, their transport. I really enjoyed that. And I thought it was visually really pleasing and really looked amazing. And I thought that it was something I feel like it was different than your common Empire looking transportation. So it was nice to see something a little different, showing kind of like that, still that beginning phase of the Empire's power and so forth, as I mentioned earlier. And I mean, yeah, Maeve, I think she is amazing. I absolutely love the actress that plays her. And I thought her disdain for them coming in and like her dealing with them, she did a phenomenal job. She was so good at portraying that. Fiona, she is Shaw is so awesome and just does a really great job. And I mean, I've seen her in so many other films. I've seen her, of course, she was in the Harry Potters. She was in a great movie from '93 called Undercover Blues. And she's been in a whole bunch of slew of things. And I knew that she was going to be good as this character. And in this episode, she proved me that I was correct, that I knew she was going to be a fantastic character. And I thought that how she handled the situation, I thought she did a really good job with that and gave us a really fun kind of like future aspect of what she might end up be, you know, playing out as her role as being like this foster, you know, mother to Andor and so forth. And I thought that she shows some really great resilience there dealing with these people too as well. So I thought it was just, they were a really good sequence, and I thought it made it very enjoyable, the episode.
Definitely. And just like it's very enjoyable to know that I've been mispronouncing her name completely the whole fucking time. Like now that you're pronouncing it the correct way and whatnot and everything, I feel really smart. Definitely a true knowledge moment there. But anyways, no, I agree with you. I think Jazz probably would agree too, that one of the really cool aspects to me for episode 3 that almost makes up for, like, you know, not having more action is seeing the ships, right? Is seeing blasters finally, right? Blaster rifles and stuff like that. I love Star Wars tech. I do. I thought that the armaments, the weapons that the security forces had were dope. They had some dope looking guns, blasters and whatnot. I like the blaster rifles they had. They were pretty cool. And in general, I wonder to some extent if you know, Premor or whatever is almost like a subcontractor in a way, to some extent, to like the Empire in a way. They're almost like a subsidiary. You know, does that make sense? That almost like they're like loosely connected to the Empire, almost like corporately in a way.
I think that they are the Empire, just they haven't given that title yet because of the time frame that this is taking place in. Because I do believe at the end of Revenge of the Sith, they started referring to themselves as the Empire, but they didn't really officially say that. So I think that this like transportation or this type of these goons, basically, I do believe they are a part of the Empire. They just might call themselves a different faction because they're not like stormtroopers, or they're not exactly with the Emperor, and they're a different faction of the Empire, and they might call themselves something else. Kind of like how you could go into a department store and you have the managers of each of the different departments, and then you have the one store manager. So it's kind of the same principle, I feel, where they have offshoots, and they could just be an offshoot, but I do believe they are a part of the Empire.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, they are. That we know. Jazz, what do you think of B2 Emo, Cassian's like droid or whatever and whatnot, right? In general, not just in this episode, but like overall. I know we haven't gotten a lot of them. But I mean, what do you think of the droid?
I find him very amusing. He feels like a little bit of a comic relief in such a serious series.
Yeah.
Like small, like just popping in, saying what he needs to say, doing what he needs to do, and dipping. Pretty much is how I feel.
Yes, and Cyber's made a couple of good points about the fact that again, taking into consideration the timeline, he almost has like a an IA like an IA kind of personality going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like almost like he's been programmed to have almost like quasi emotions, right? He's very humanistic in his speech and like in how he handles things and his movements and reactions to Cassian and what's going on and whatnot, right? He's not as robotic as you'd expect from your typical Star Wars droid, I guess, right? Now I haven't done any research really with this and whatnot, and I bet if you dug a little bit, there's probably some solid theories out there that could be somewhat legit in terms of what how that's possible or what's going on there. But Jazz, what, and then you, Cyber, what do you think of that whole aspect of the fact that like B2 EMO like almost is like a person? You
first? Oh,
you're muted.
Okay, sorry. All right, it feels like an early. You're laughing at me, Cyber. Okay, so it looks like it's an earlier like prototype of C3PO is what it's giving me, or at least R2D2. Because like it's really cool. Like just seeing how it interacts with everybody and how it feels like it's actually someone in there conversating and having this whole conversation vibe with people when it enters a scene. It's not like you see a droid and you look past it. It commands your attention. I like that.
Sure, most definitely. And Cyber, now that we've gotten into episode 3, I know we didn't get a ton of the droid of B2 Emo in episode 3. Really, we just had some brief scene with them. Really, mostly not much participation. But have you come to any different conclusions, or have you had any ideas or thoughts on how it's possible that besides what we've already kind of thrown out there, that Cassie could have a droid that's like unique, that's unique, I guess.
I mean, if you think about it honestly, I mean, Anakin, back, way before this was all happening, when he was a kid, he was creating, droids. He started creating C-3PO at that time. And I mean, over the years, we've seen all kinds of different types of droids, and all of them have had different personalities, different structures, different ideas, all this kind of different things. I mean, we saw in Rogue One, the film, we had that android in that film that was definitely different. And so I feel that Cassian being the type of like whatever we want to consider him, a mechanic slash kind of smuggler, he would have the ability to probably, create his own droids, kind of like Anakin. So I think that this droid he has in this B, he is probably a one of a kind, and Cassian probably more than likely either built him or, found him and then kind of like repaired him or something like that. Or came across him somehow from somebody that, does that type of thing. But at the same time, I think that because Andor is such a interesting character and such a pivotal character because he is a part of Rogue One, being a part of that group that gets this, battle plans of the first, Death Star. That wouldn't surprise me if they had him have that ability or have him have some droids that are different than your average droid you see throughout the series. So I think, yeah, it's very possible that he is either that talented like Anakin, or he came across somehow this awesome droid.
Most definitely. And no, I think that's a good point, really, Cyber. You mentioned that. I don't know for a fact, but I get the vibe from Cassian that he's almost like a jack of trades. You know what I mean? Like he can do a lot of different shit, right? I mean, if you think about it, if he's a smuggler, right, and he's a good one, right, and we already know from the trailers and what he said to like Luthen during the episode that he's infiltrated the Empire before. He has. That's how he got the device, right? Essentially. So, and he brags about it too, and at that point, I think that he's he doesn't really show it that much at times. I think he's highly capable in a lot of areas, technically, from a mechanical standpoint, and whatnot, in terms of ships and whatnot. I think he can fix his own ships, right? He's very self-sustained. I don't think he needs a lot of help, really, when it boils down to it. I think he works well alone, right? Of course, when you're a smuggler, you have to have fences and whatnot and everything to sell your shit. That's just how it is, right? You know what I mean? So Bix has to be there. You're going to have a Bix and like stuff like that, right? But in general, I think that as a smuggler, he's probably dipped his hands in a lot of different stuff. And at that point, learned a lot of stuff, and can do a lot of different shit. So it wouldn't surprise me, Cyber, if he actually on his own did like put the work in with the droid. And that is actually how he developed that sort of personality. Maybe Cassian did that like just to have a friend. He seems very solitary. To some extent. Like he's a type that is always alone, almost. They portray him as a loner. They do. But so basically, when the security forces essentially lock down a signal, directing them to where Cassian is exactly at geographically, is essentially the same exact time that he actually is meeting with Luthen, under the impression that he's simply going to go ahead and sell this device, get his money, and get the hell out of there, right? And go save his ass and go hide, because he killed those two guards. And at that point, he's not aware that he's being hunted. He has no idea. Bix wants to warn him when she becomes aware of it and whatnot, right? And Jasmine, as you already mentioned, we know how that plays out, right? Overall, you know what I mean? It's kind of sad. But she does kind of make an effort to try to, to warn him. And so simultaneously, the security forces are basically trying to hone in and lock in on Cassian, with Mosk and like Deputy Inspector Serial leading the group. And at that point, we get our first sort of, I guess, meeting or conversation between Luthen and Cassian. And basically, I guess, to nuts and bolts it, they go back and forth, and it becomes very clear to Cassian over time that something's not right. He's suspicious as shit. Because Luthen starts kind of straying away from talking about the business and whatnot and everything and all that, and focusing on different stuff. And then mentions the death by hanging of Cassian's father. I guess in some kind of capital or whatever, like right there on Ferris back in the day, which really pisses off Cassian. You see him become very emotional, at which point he pulls his blaster out and holds Luthen on blaster point the whole time to his head towards the end of the scene. And that's when Luthen sort of flushes out the fact that he's not just there for the device, he's really there for Cassian. Although he isn't as, that direct about it, he makes it pretty clear that like he's not just there for the box. And sort of in a way, I think almost tactically way, in a tactical way, goads Cassian to like brag about like stealing from the Empire and shit and whatnot, kind of plays with him to try to like, get him high spirited, and try to, funnel and direct and see if how he feels about the Empire, if he has anger, right? If he does feel condescended to in a way, right? By how they're treated by the Empire and whatnot. And we go from there. Cassian plays the game, right? The singing, the sing and dance and whatnot. And at that point, they do get attacked by the security forces. So at that point, Cyber, what would you take out of, I guess, our first scene with Luthen, who's going to be probably a big character, I would think, true Cassian in the series, probably, right? To some degree. As almost like a guide or a senior figure, right? What did you think of that whole dynamic in that scene? And at the same time, the continually encroaching security forces still like sweeping and moving on.
I mean, the whole Lupin thing I thought was really well executed of a scene. I thought that, everything that they talked about, there was always like more to it. And, because of their time restraint, because of the impending forces coming, they, basically he could only give them so much answers, to get them out of there, to be able to leave so that they could, get out of there. And then eventually he could tell them the rest of it. And so I liked how it kind of went back and forth. He asked a question, he kind of gave an answer. He asked a question, he kind of gave an answer, type of back and forth type of deal there. And you could definitely tell there was more to Lupin than meets the eye, and that there's more to why he's interested in Andor, why he needs Andor, and stuff like that. And so that whole scene kind of gives you that presence of what is Lupin really hiding? What does he really know? And kind of what's really his intentions? Even though, he kind of says, it's kind of like this and that. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I can give you this and this. And you're like, this guy's able to give me all this kind of stuff. But he really hasn't given me a reason like, ooh, what's going on here? There's got to be something else behind this, why this is going on. And so I think that scene did a really good job of kind of keeping you guessing and wanting more. And that's, how the episode went for me, is it kept wanting me to keep watching and keep going. And it was really enjoyable. I thought they did a really good job. And then when it comes to the forces coming, I thought it was interesting how they kind of cut back to them here and there and kind of give you an idea of where they're at, what they're up to, and kind of like in their pursuit of Andor. And I thought that was really enjoyable too, and pretty well played. I don't think it was anything special, but at the same time, I think it helped add to the sequences with Lupin and Andor really well.
And Jazz, do you think that if anything with Luthen, and again, we don't know for sure, I certainly don't, but do you think it's possible that with Luthen, he comes off to me as like an ethical character, right? Like, I mean, he obviously, like, we know he's going to be a major component in the rebellion, right? He is. And he clearly he's going to be a facilitator in the series. Like, he's a means, right? Like, I mean, he's somebody that has a network. He has connections, right? He can get shit. And I think we're going to see that flushed out. And so you tell me, do you think it's possible that he sort of just almost feels like he has to kind of play games with Cassian a little bit just because of how Cassian is, right? And he's afraid maybe that if he does kind of be too direct and like really come out and be like, hey, the fucking rebellion needs you, man. You know, it's time to fight back. That's just not going to be something Cassian's going to want to really rock with.
It's giving me very much a combination of Lord Sidious and kind of Obi-Wan when it comes to, he seems very calculated, like he knows what he's doing. He has a game he's trying to play, mostly because of who he's trying to talk to, who he's trying to communicate with. And he knows that person's very skeptical of him, very cautious. So he has to move kind of like the tortoise and the hare. Tortoise is moving slow, but it knows where it's going. That's what it's giving me. And I do think that he's going to play a big part. I'm really, really invested.
Yes, and I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think he's gonna die like Obi-Wan from like, you know.
Oh, too soon.
I don't think he's gonna die 3/4 of the way through the first season. I don't think that's gonna occur.
Oh, too soon. Too soon.
I don't think so. You never know, though, right? Who knows, right? I don't know. We'll have to see. But no, I think you're right. He's gonna have a major role to play without question. Now, back to you, Jazz, and over to you, Cyber. Do you feel like Bix is already connected to the revolution, to the rebellion already right now?
She possibly could be. I mean, she has a lot of those vibes, but at the same time, she could just be like there at the right time, right place type of deal too, as well. Then she just happens to get pulled into it. So it could be either or. You don't know with Bix, because how Bix reacts and how I felt she reacted with her, you know, the guy she worked with at the store and stuff like that, seems like she's on Andor's side, but at the same time, you kind of feel, oh, she's hiding something as well. So it could be either or. She could be playing both sides. She also could be a part of the Empire playing this role out. So, I mean, it's still up in the air who Bix really is working for and what her real agenda is, I feel.
What do you think, Jazz?
I agree, because with the flashbacks and everything plays out very coded. Like, you don't know where it's going. You don't know who you're supposed to trust. You're just kind of going along for the ride and hoping for the best and hoping, okay, is this person evil? Is this person doing that? I definitely assume the worst, because that's me. So I'm like, I think Empire all the way. That's what I think. But that's just me.
Well, I mean, you know, look, you never know. I mean, I'd have to believe that there has to be an intent to some extent, you know, to try to have some clear differences between some of these Star Wars properties, right? Some of these series and whatnot. You don't want them all to be just like the Mandalorian, you know, or fucking Boba Fett for all things. You know what I'm saying? Other than Tuskens, baby. What up, Tuskens? Keep it real, baby. Sand people forever, dog. But either way, no. So you'd expect some differences. I think that Tony Gilroy, right, is the guy that actually I think that is behind the series. And at that point, you never know. I mean, it would be very sort of, other than like the recent trilogy, it would be kind of like, in a way, almost un-Star Wars-ish to really have some like some deceit go on, like with a main character, to have some you know, ethical good characters betray, right, the good side, right? We're not used to that, really, to some extent. Star Wars is usually rah rah, But in terms of my digging, right, with B2EMO, all I can really find is that essentially he is a salvage droid who has lived with the Andor family for many years. So he's been like living with the Andor family essentially. I guess it's since Cassie was a child or even before that. So he's old. He's been around for a minute. What I find that's very cool about him, that's very, I don't know, I think this is different than the droids we've seen before in Star Wars. He's clearly very self-sufficient. Like, he doesn't need anybody. He can live by himself and whatnot and do his own thing and shit. Like, and handle his business, like as a little tiny droid and whatnot, which I think is really cool about him. He seems to be built pretty tough and whatnot, right? And he can take care of himself. Although he seems very emotional, so he probably does get lonely, I imagine. And you see he gets like sad every time like Cassian leaves. But I mean, essentially so far, those scenes with BTMO and like Cassian are the only emotional type scenes we've seen, really. That's it. So I mean, the stuff between Bix and Tim that shit wasn't exactly romantically like hot or whatever, right? So but no, so basically when it comes to the Premor forces coming down on the meeting between Luthen and Cassian, where at this point now Luthen has at least flushed out to Cassian that he's more concerned and it was more important for him to meet Cassian and recruit Cassian for something than get that damn device. He's pretty much whatever about it. And essentially from the beginning of the blaster fight that occurs, that smuggled device ends up being tossed aside and then eventually broken. And it becomes worthless. But basically we get a really, really dope action scene. Our first really, really cool, really legit action scene that we've had, I think, in the series so far, besides if you want to call it when Cassian killed those guards, which was very quick. And it was dope. It was awesome. It was very, very Star Wars type action. That's one thing about Star Wars, right? They're the only fandom type, content out there, movies, shows out there that have blaster battles and stuff like that and whatnot that look as good as they do. They looked great in episode 3. They did. That little battle, this skirmish was really cool. I like that a lot. And I liked seeing Cassian and Luthen in action together too, fighting back, and seeing Luthen capable, right, to be able to fight and whatnot and everything, and seem to be, about his game and shit. So, essentially, what did you guys think, Jazz? Did you thoroughly enjoy the intense laser battle?
Yes, I did. It was giving very much New Hope when the stormtroopers invaded the rebel ship. I was very much impressed with it visually. The explosions, everything. It felt intense. It had me literally on the edge of my seat watching, knowing damn well no one's going to get killed important, but still didn't stop me from being like, what's going to happen?
Well, I do think I can't remember for sure. I do think that in that skirmish, didn't a couple of the soldiers get killed?
If I remember correctly, yes, there was a couple that ended up getting killed.
I thought so. I can't remember if it was from blaster fire or if it was from the building falling down. But I mean, it seemed to me that some of them had to die. The soldiers and the Premor people certainly suffered a lot more losses than the Ferrex type, folks and whatnot, right? In terms of them really just losing Tim pretty much, right? And he was an asshole anyway, I thought. So good riddance for you, Tim. You bastard. Get the hell out of here. We don't need you anyway. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know why Bix is wasting her time with your ass. Should be getting down with fucking B2 EMO and shit and whatnot, and getting after with him. he's more legit than Tim. You know, but either way, Cyber, I know you fucking love that fight scene and whatnot and everything, and that laser scene. That was probably the highlight of the episode for you.
Totally was. It was a really good fight sequence. I was surprised they killed Tim off a little bit. I was really surprised, but at the same time, I was like, he kind of had it coming because of what he did to Andor type of deal. But yeah, I thought it was really well choreographed. I thought that they did a good job of giving us some really good detailed action there. And I thought, like, them doing the, laser tag basically was really well incorporated. Really fun.
Most definitely. And well shot, right? Well produced, I thought, right? Looked great. Like you said, visually looked great. Great special effects, great digital effects. Hats off, people that made the show, whatnot, and everything, right? It's nice to see somebody else other than MCU and Marvel Studios pulling off some nice looking visual effects and shit. And hey, you know what? I even thought about it. Hats off to DC, baby, for hiring James Gunn. Good move, man. Good job. Hell yeah. Talk about instilling some confidence into your fandom. I don't know how you can make a better move than freaking hiring James Gunn. Unless you wanted to hire Jar Jar Binks, right, to run DC films. I mean, that could have been a game changer too.
See, now I would hire Jar Jar in a hot minute. And I would use Jar Jar for everything because I think Jar Jar is the best.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really see how it's possible that if you were to insert Jar Jar into any fucking TV series, that he would not make it better, right? Immediately, right? Like imagine Seinfeld with Jar Jar.
Totally.
Yep.
I could see Jar Jar in Seinfeld. He'd be the fifth wheel there. And he'd bring in a little of that, Naboo charm.
I mean, hey, Jar Jar would have definitely improved Morbius, right? Morbius would have done better with Jar Jar in it.
See, I don't think Morbius is as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
Thank you. I watched it and loved it. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm just joking. We're talking about Jar Jar Binks here. Come on now. All right.
I love Jar Jar too. Don't
apologize for thoughts, sir. We're just pointing out points here. That's all. We know you're joking. We're going along with the joke.
A blank fucking space on the panel would be more impactful than fucking Jar Jar in his presence. But no, I'm telling you right now, it would be funny as shit to see Jar Jar inserted into all kinds, like as a show, like a what if show. What if Jar Jar was on this TV show and you just threw him into these TV shows, right? That shit would be hilarious. He is funny. You have to admit it. He's so stupid that he's funny.
I think he's funny just because I think he's funny.
I think he's not as dumb as people think he is. I think he plays dumb.
Oh, so basically you're saying that Jar Jar is like manipulating people and whatnot with his stupidity?
Yeah, I think he plays it off.
Oh, okay.
If you play stupid, they won't expect you to be doing something smart later.
Ah, I got you. I see. So maybe Jar Jar is actually a Jedi. No,
I think he's a Sith, but that's just me.
Well, either way,
that's an interesting thought. That's a concept. There we go. Yeah.
There
you go, Jeff. They should do a what if episode for Star Wars, and they should bring in Jar Jar and have him play a Sith Lord. That would be awesome. I think that'd be cool.
If you want to torture people, just put them in a room with Jar Jar for like 3 hours. Jar Jar talking to them for 3 hours and see how they feel about that.
I love it.
I would enjoy it.
Yeah, I can just imagine that. I can imagine you enjoying hanging out with Jar Jar for 3 hours, Cyber. I'm sure you would love it.
Dude, I hang out with you for several hours, so it can't be that hard.
Oh, come on now. Hey.
The shade.
How can anybody with a title like True Knowledge how can you even compare that to someone like Jar Jar? But no. So
you can. You can, sir.
Woo.
You can.
So essentially, I'm not trying to get far ahead or anything like that and whatnot. So I don't want to do that with Andor at all. I don't want to try to sneak ahead, or I'm not going to. I'm not going to watch ahead. But basically, as far as Luthen goes, he essentially, just to be clear, his, like, as we already talked about, his activities extend way beyond what we've already seen. And he also, and this is just a little bit of a reveal, he also goes by Axis, I guess, apparently. That's the title he uses, or like a code name. And, you know, essentially, he's exactly what we kind of like all, I think, already kind of figure he is. He's sort of like the guy behind the scenes that kind of like the Nick Fury, right? That kind of like calls the shots and, like, you know, puts the game plans together and strategizes. That's his deal, I think, to some extent. He's a planner. And I think essentially he really finds something deep in Cassian, right? To have him actually come out like that physically, to find him and recruit him. And at that point, moving on from the, you know, of course, the laser battle, where essentially, I guess you could say that Luthen and Cassian sort of win in a way because they get away, and they don't get killed or hurt. And of course, Luthen has shit all hooked up spy-wise. He's got explosions lined up on doors and everything and whatnot. He blows the building down and everything. Like, he was prepared. You know, like how he even knew to put explosives up on stuff, I have no idea. But you tell me, Cyber, then you, Jazz. Do you think that he actually knew that Pre-Mor was coming?
Had no clue, honestly, but probably seems too smart for me. Too calculated.
What do you think, Cyber? Why else would he have put it like that?
I mean, honestly, there's the echo. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, I think, you know, how that it could be Jar Jar. No, I'm gonna blame it on She-Hulk, because you keep blaming everything on She-Hulk, so I'm gonna blame it on She-Hulk.
Blame it on She-Hulk.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Could you please repeat the question? I because we're talking about She-Hulk, I got lost here.
I know She-Hulk will do that to you, man. I'm telling you. As Jazz like gets all pissed off over here. Oh, come on now, Jazz. No. So basically, what were do you think that it's possible that Luthen is so wired in, right, that he was very aware of what was going down, and that he knew that, like, the Pre-Mor forces were coming and everything, or not, for Cassian, like, way ahead? Or else why would he have gone ahead and set explosives and whatnot in the building?
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, like I was saying earlier, Lupin already has an agenda. There is more to him that meets the eye. Like I said earlier, there's more to his story, and he already had a plan conceived prior to going to finding Andor, and Andor just happens to be that collateral damage that he has to encompass with what he's going for, what his primary objective is. And so I think he already knew that, you know, that they were coming for Andor, and that that's why he set all those charges and stuff like that, because he already knew what was going on. I mean, I think they kind of referenced that a little bit because of how Bix is the one that contacted Lupin. So I feel she already kind of clued him in on a few things, and he kind of already knew those things. So that came into play too as well, with him knowing in advance what was going to be going on too. So he already knew that he had to get there to, you know, super fast an extent before they got to Andor in order to further his cause. So yeah, he definitely knew what was going on, and he already had it planned out.
Yeah, I believe so too. I think that he saw it as an opportunity in a way, like, you know, where with Cassian in this tight spot, what choice would he end up having, right? But roll with Luthen. when shit went down. So, yeah, he is being. I mean, in a way. I mean, I don't know. In a way, you can't sort of blame him with Cassian because again, we don't know him that well. But I get the vibe from him that he's a rogue kind of guy, right? He doesn't play by the rules really. He's not a team player. He's kind of a loner. He's not a joiner. I think Luthen knows that. But I do think that he legitimately sort of I think he's like a puppet master type figure, right? Where he's got his fingers kind of in everything in a way. And as much as you can be be a really solid information hub type character or person in such a big universe, right? In a galactic empire compared to like one planet, I think he's very informed and aware, right? Probably has contacts and like has spies in the empire and whatnot, where he gets information, gets leaks and stuff like that and whatnot. That has to go on. You have to imagine. And I do believe probably to some extent that a part of the reason why he wants Cassian is because he's already aware that Cassian has infiltrated the empire before, right? He has, and that's key to him, for some reason, whatever the end goals could end up being. So basically, as they leave, we do then see Bix get caught up and held up by the security forces and whatnot. They also physically kind of grab her up, right? And sort of manhandle her a little bit. And that's when Tim gets killed, right? Although I kind of got this feeling that maybe even before that Tim maybe sold her out anyway to the Primor security forces, right? Like ratted her out, that she was a smuggler, that she was fencing Cassian's shit, and that's kind of why I was saying that Tim was kind of a dick. Oh, Jess, you got to go, sweetie? Well, listen. If you got a dip, just go ahead and give us your rating for the episode and your final thought.
I give it a B+ for sure.
1 to 10.
9.
Okay. Final thought.
Honestly, I think the show is doing a great job pacing wise. They need to really work on the structure when it comes to the flashbacks. But other than that, it's almost to a 10 out of 10 for me.
I agree. Do not agree with you. On that. And God, I love that. There's nothing better. Jazz, what are you doing? Are you active with your new rebranded YouTube channel at this point?
Not yet. I was planning on doing my first video probably this weekend.
Great. That's good to hear. And now remind us, what is your new title?
Okay, it's Jazzy, Nerdy. I don't even remember it now. I changed it. Now I remember. Nerdy Girl. Thank you. Jazzy Nerdy Girl. React.
Yeah. I thought.
I was like, wait a minute. I still have to get used to saying this new name. But I'm super excited to get back into the swing.
Great. I am too. I'm looking forward to it. Well, listen, Dad. You, sweetie. You better bring your ass back.
I will.
All right, my friend. You take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What? Hey, Jazz, we love you, hon. That was just a little bust your balls for your love for She-Hulk right there, just to be clear. I apologize, but you're never gonna live it down. Your love for the old She-Hulk Disney Plus series, but hey, we love us some She-Hulk over here at the Bleeding Edge. We do, But no, folks. In terms of Andor, and in terms of Axis, and in terms of Luthen and whatnot, and this whole dynamic or like conversation, essentially, what we're just talking about and what Cyber was talking about, and this idea that we don't really know his full role or his full value or impact yet. or how big he is, but it seems clear that he's a shot caller to some extent, if not the shot caller. But we already know that we have more fabulous actors and actresses popping up throughout the series still. And we got Forrest Whitaker popping in, right? I'm a big fan of Forrest Whitaker. I think he's great. He's had a great career. He's made some really good films. Personally, I think he's just equally at the same level probably as Stellan Skarsgård. I think wise, I do. Stellan just has a better accent. But either way, Cyber, what do you think essentially of Tim's death, Bix sort of getting caught up by Premor, and essentially us then shifting to where, as we talked about in the beginning of the episode, the rest of the town folk and whatnot start to sort of join in almost, right? And participate and try to almost cover in a way and help Cassian and Luthen and Bix and whatnot, right? They sort of almost, they sort of almost kind of scare the soldiers, the Premor, officers or agents in a way, with the kind of the noise that they make up, the rattling that they do and whatnot and everything and all that. Don't they kind of like throw them off a little bit?
I don't think so. I don't. I think that it's more of it might be a diversion almost, but I don't think it really throws them off really very much, because as you can see in the scene, I feel they caught back on right away.
The ship was a diversion. It was.
Yeah.
When we do see the Premor forces shoot at that ship, they believe that that's Cassian leaving Ferrix. That does end up being a diversion, of course, and that, of course, is like laden with explosives and blows up, right, and kills a bunch of the soldiers too. And of course, essentially before that, and I guess what I was kind of getting into maybe, and maybe I misunderstood it, was that buildup we got at one point where the Premor forces, collected up, grouped up, right, and were in preparation almost. Didn't they seem like they were? That they thought that some kind of like actual assault was coming at them, like there was actually going to be a force beyond just two people.
Yes, most definitely.
That's what I was talking about. They almost they were prepared, like in defensive mode, not like they were no longer pushing forward at that point. And of course, you see Musk or whatever later on in the episode being like, "Yo, we got to get the fuck out of here," right? Like Ciro, we got to get out of here. We got to leave. And he's all shell shocked by the whole scene. I think that was probably his first time in action, right? Seeing battle, having people die around him and whatnot, possibly. But either way, as far as the whole thing with Bix and like Tim getting killed, Cyber, did you feel like Tim's death was anything like big or impactful? At least to the episode, maybe not the series?
No, not at all. I thought that it was just kind of a casualty in the process of the episode going forward. Because like we've said, Tim was kind of a backstabber. He was caused, all this crap to happen basically because he called them. And so it's kind of like justice served, basically for him. So I don't think it was shocking. I don't think it like really did anything, but at the same time, it's like kind of like, oh, justice served kind of deal.
Yes, and I think that a part of that was jealousy towards Cassian. I do, right? Which is pretty petty.
Mm-hmm.
But no. So at that point, essentially, as there is the decoy ship and whatnot and everything, as we have a great scene with how did you pronounce her name? Is it Maven?
It's Marv.
With Marv, we get a great scene with Marv and Inspector Cyril, I believe his name is. Shit. I'm forgetting his name here for a minute. Hold on. Damn. Oh, whatever. Doesn't matter. So
Musk or Karn?
yes, Karn. I apologize. Yeah, Cyril. No, I had it right. Cyril Karn. So we get a really interesting episode, sort of scene there with Marv and Cyril and a couple of the other security forces where they're looking for Cassian. They're kind of like hunkering down, thinking he's going to come back, I guess, right? And they're sort of holding Marv, and Marv just starts talking shit like, hey, man, you don't even know what's going to be going down here soon. Like it's just going to get ugly for you. And I felt like now it was a lot more philosophical than that, what she was saying and whatnot and everything. It was very overarching in a way. And you know what I mean? She wasn't just talking about that situation, right? Now, you tell me, coming off of that scene and the way that she talked to him like that, right? That spite, right? And everything, and that fire. Now, I mean, clearly, it's possible that she may have ties to the rebellion already in some way. Do you think that there's at least a possibility that she may, in some way connect to that? Maybe not to Luthen directly, but to that side.
Who connected to it? Are you talking about Marv?
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely think that she has ties to the rebellion. Yes, most definitely.
I'm wondering if possibly some of the Andor family ancestors before Cassian also have been a part of the rebellion.
Yeah, I think so.
And it might be like a family kind of thing, right?
Possibly.
And maybe that's in some way where the flashbacks are going,
Possibly.
But either way, what did you think of the dialogue that she threw at Cyril that kind of shook him? It did kind of scare him. It did. I mean, he was already unnerved to begin with, right? He became more and more rattled as the episode went, right? To the point where by the end, he's like shell-shocked.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think that Karn doesn't really know everything that's going on. He's kind of taking in the information little by little, and he's only going by what the Empire is telling him at first and what he's gotten. And as things are told to him, he's starting to realize that he's in a fight he can't win, really, and that's why he's getting more unnerved. Why he's getting to that point where he's kind of like, oh shit, what am I doing? And so I think that kind of leads to him and Karn and Musk, basically ended up, as we go on, they'll want to leave and get off the planet because they see what exactly this is going and that they're in a mess that they really can't do anything about. So it all comes and encompasses itself in this episode with Karn. And I think what, Marv told him just proves how amazing Marv is and that she has a lot more, info and more ties to whatever's going on, and which leads to the whole feeling that she's a part of the rebellion already, that there's a reason why, maybe they foresaw that Cassian was going to be a part of getting those plans to be able to, stop the Empire and so forth. So I think that it all encompasses itself and it's slowly, little by little, being told. And Marv, I think there's more to her too, just like Stellan Skarsgård's character, that we're going to find out later on.
I do too. I think there's a lot more going on with her. And I think that you make a good point. And, it's funny in a way, it never occurred to me in the first two episodes that possibly Cyril was actually that inexperienced, right? That he was honestly he was overdoing it and like getting his head above water, if anything, in his own pursuit for power and like advancement, right? Like that was I didn't grasp going into episode 3 that he was green field wise, right? It was obvious that Musk knew what the hell was going on. He was the one running the show, from a tactical standpoint. On Ferrex. It wasn't Cyril. I mean, all his scenes mostly like he was afraid, right? Then Cassian like catches up from behind with the gun, takes his communicator, breaks it and shit, right? And he was leading the mission. He was number one guy. So that did not reflect well for him, that went down. He sold out the whole crew, his whole team, essentially to Cassian. But no, it never occurred to me until this episode unfurled that he is like over his head, right? And over ambitious. I didn't expect him to be that unnerved by simply going on a mission like that. But look what happened. It turned out that he was green, but in charge of the actual field mission, right? And when Mosk basically is like warns him and wakes him up, like, hey, we got to get the hell out of here. You tell me, Cyber, that at that point was because they did realize that the folks up there themselves were going to end up like taking care of them in a minute if they didn't get the hell out of there. Like they were seriously outnumbered.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, it was definitely, you could see throughout the episode, Karn and Musk both knew that things were escalating to a certain point and that they were eventually going to have to get out, that there was something was going to happen. And after the conversation with Marv, I think that was what greenlit, Karn to realize, oh shit, we need to get out of here. And so I think that was a very big ploy and what made him even more nervous. And then as things started to fold out more with the, gunfire and all that kind of stuff, he saw, okay, we are not gonna win this and we need to get the hell out of here. And that's, basically why they made their grand exit. So yeah, it was definitely, it was a thing that gradually built throughout the episode to where, they figured out, oh shit, we need to get out of here.
Yeah. And then of course, when essentially Cassian does get the drop on Deputy Inspector Cyril, Luthen from jump is like, kill him, right? Immediately, which I thought was interesting, that he said that right from jump, just kill him, like collateral damage almost. You know what I mean? Like legitimately, the reason they're there is because of Cassian killing these Primor guards, right? And from jump, like Luthen jumps right in and is like, stop talking to this dude, kill him. Right? So that just shows you kind of where Luthen's going with shit, right? He may not be like some massive badass, but he's very calculated, right? And he's not afraid to cross the lines and whatnot that need to be, those gray lines and whatnot and everything, and kill people and shit if he has to make things work. And I think that in a way, that just like in a way flushed out the vast difference in experience between Luthen and Cassian, right? That Cassian, although being hunted and then trying to arrest him for killing those Primor guards, accidentally to some extent, and purposely on one of them, is actually unwilling to kill Cyril, right? Just ties him up. When from jump, Luthen is like, kill him. That's it. He's done. There's nothing else to say. That's very concise like that. Very, clear cut to be that quick about it. And so basically, essentially, after Cassian, sneaks up on and kind of gets the better of the deputy inspector, and Luthen, of course, does encourage him to kill him. I guess Cyril kind of like at that point is very unnerved. He's like scared. I think he thinks Cassian's going to kill him. He reveals all the information that Cassian wants. And upon Tim getting shot, we see Bix sort of like break down almost emotionally. And sort of just like falter and kind of give up and like lay down to almost. She's very impacted by it. And the soldiers are almost kind of forced to abandon her at that point. And they let her go. After the warehouse explodes and falls in on itself, from Luthen and the explosives. And Bix is left in sort of that fetal position for the rest of the episode. And then we stare at the end. And she's again almost like Cyril, shell shocked, having to be like physically aided to leave the scene. So from there, Luthen, Cassian team up with a quick plan, right, and get the hell out of there. Again, we talked about the decoy ship. The Pre-War soldiers shoot at it. Kind of sort of shoot it down. Luthen and Cassian managed to slip away on like one of those speeder type deals, which we all are very aware of from Star Trek lore, which I thought was a nice inclusion. And of course, the ship is of course rigged with explosives that blows up and kills a bunch of the soldiers, which really screws up Cyril and leaves him again like almost like PTSD by the end of the episode. So that's basically the gist of it. We end up flushing things out at the end with Luthen and Cassian going off in their own way, with Luthen having basically recruited Cassian at this point and asked him and told him, like, why don't you come fight with me, right, against the Empire? And Marv, right, basically leaving with Casa on her ship. And now I'm positive, I'm sure you would agree, Cyber, that they're going to cross paths and correlate throughout the series, right? But do you think it's possible, Cyber, that Marv may have her own role, her own goals, her own that may have her own spot in the series where she has her own task in a way? It may go in her own direction.
Well, that goes once again to, like I said before, that she could have a completely separate agenda. She could also be a part of something else. She could be on the bad side. She could be on the good side. That comes back to that same thing that, yes, that is possible. And definitely, I think, like we said before, I believe Bix, there's more to her too than what we're getting from her as well. That there's more history, there's more story, there's more to what she's up to. And that, she didn't just come into this because she knew Andor somehow. She has known him a lot longer than we think. And that she's a part of something in some way. We just don't know yet. And we're going to learn about that down the line, I believe. And so I think that's all a part of kind of, keeping you in mystery of who Bix is.
I would agree with you. They very well may have been partners in the past, right? And she may have been active out there, like doing the smuggling thing with him, if anything. But she comes off as an experienced player, that's sort of laying low in a way, sort of semi-Cassian, right? I'm not saying that her job is like fake or something like that, right? And it's like a spoof or whatever. I'm just saying that I get this vibe from her that she's capable of more than what she can do. Tim sort of like, in a way, gives off a vibe at times that like, she has a past besides Cassian. Like, there's a past there. To where we don't know how influential she may have been in terms of Caspian's ability to even infiltrate the Empire, right? She could have been a active participant in that. But you're right. I think that she overall, I think is going to be a great female character overall in the series. I have a great feeling for her. I do. I'm very optimistic about her. They're handling her very well, I think so far. Not overexposing her, not overdoing it, being very light about things, not giving us too much to work with in terms of her background, really, or who she really is, right? Which they're doing with all the characters, in a way. And what do you think, Cyber? Those final scenes, right? The decoy ship, the Pre-War forces and soldiers needing to leave in a hurry to get the hell off Ferrix after Luthen and Cassian escape. And what did you think, overall, like, in general, too? What did you think of Cyril and his rattling and how he kind of fell apart towards the end of the episode?
Well, I totally foresaw him, Karn falling apart. that was obvious through the episode. You could see it through the episode, and it was no surprise he fell apart. And I mean, uh, what was the rest of the question? I'm sorry.
Are they trying to humanize him? Are they trying to humanize these Pre-More people and whatnot, and these Empire folks in some direction, in some way? Are they trying to Are they trying to give off the hint that they aren't all completely evil?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, yes, I do believe so, because I think they're trying to make people, to get people to be interested in both sides and be entertained by both sides. So that would not surprise me that they're trying to humanize them a little bit instead of what we're so used to throughout the years from Star Wars, that the Empire is just evil, evil, evil. And so that wouldn't surprise me if in the writing decided to change that up. I don't know 100% if that's what they're doing, but I can see it being possibility that that's what's going on.
Well, remember when they gave us those lighthearted scenes where, for instance, Karn, when he reported to his superior about the deaths of the guards, you remember the superior's reaction, like, "Hey, those guys are assholes anyway. All that happened is they ran into the wrong dude, right? They fucked with the wrong guy, and they got killed. That's it. No big deal. Why even raise a big red flag over it, right?" And then you've got that banter between the other Pre-More officers and Cyril when he's commanding them, right, to try to sweep and figure out Cassian's ship, locate it and whatnot. That then leads to them finding Cassian. That sort of back and forth and almost almost very loose type of conversation and back and forth that the different agents have with Cyril is not your typical Empire-esque Star Wars, like you said, good versus evil deal where all the characters are shitty and they're evil, right? Some of them actually seem kind of comedic and lighthearted and lazy, stupid, they didn't give a shit, So it is interesting. I find it interesting. But no, what did you think of the ending? I guess sort of maybe 15-20% of the episode, where we did see Cassian and Luthen disappear, Marv go off in her own direction, right? And then we get the Pre-More forces sort of essentially taking a loss.
I mean, all in all, I think the finale part of the episode was your basic finale. I thought it was decently done. I thought that it showed that there was a lot of character development to still go on and to get to know. I mean, we know there's more to Marv than meets the eye, so her going off was not surprising, but at the same time, totally understand why she was, because she was trying to get away from those people. And then you have the kind of encompassing storyline of Karn and Musk and the preforms and kind of what they're dealing with and having to move on to, and then just how basically showing us that Stellan Skarsgård's character and Cassian got away and kind of where they're going, and that there's more to their story too as well. I thought that it overlapped very well and gave us a really good conclusion to the episode.
What do you think? For me, I'm wondering myself mentally, what do you think the premise would be of even continuing to hunt Cassian at this point? Would it be possibly that the deaths of the soldiers and the Pre-More agents on Ferrix would be something that he'd be held responsible for?
I think he'll be responsible for that until the series ends. I think that that'll be something they always continue back to, that they go back to and say, "Oh, well, you did this now, Cassian, so we're gonna get you for that." So I think that's gonna overplay throughout the whole entire series. I think that'll be something that's always played upon with that. But other than that, I think that them chasing him, that's just a part of the whole series. It's going to be because he's on the run. That's just how it's going to be played out.
Do you think that the way that they depicted Cyril falling apart sort of as the episode kept going, in a way, will have something to do, right, with that passion and desire to continue hunting Cassian?
It could and it could not. It could be either or. I feel. I don't think that it necessarily has to be that reason for them to continue. I think that overall that does play a smart choice in it, but all in all, it doesn't have to be the prime reason for it to be for them to still chase him because the reason they're chasing him is because he killed a couple of their people. So that's enough right there for them to keep chasing him.
And I'm only bringing that up simply because one thing about the Star Wars type universe is that it's so big, right? And when you think about it, right, it's not like a situation where just on Earth, okay, if someone, if Shield wants somebody, right, a villain or something or whatever on Earth, right, they'll keep hunting the villain, right, till they get him. They will, because it's on one planet. It's contained, right? The Star Wars universe is massive. So at that point, if you lose track of somebody that you want, and you're the Empire, you don't know where the hell they're going, right? You have no fucking clue. You don't know where Cassian is going to go right now. I mean, at this point, unlike in the beginning, unlike how they were able to find him on Ferrix, they had nothing to work with that I can think of. There is no one that they can shake down to reveal his location, right? There's nothing that they can trace, I don't believe. So, it's interesting. It is. It really is. I love how episode 3 played out and how it sets up episode 4. I do. And sets up the rest of the series. And I guess final question for you, Cyber. Do you think episode 3 was sort of a swing episode, right? That is really now going to launch the series kind of off of? Is that, that like the rest of the series is going to follow the momentum off of it?
Most definitely. I mean, I think in any TV series, any movie, anything that you're visually watching, I think there's always little intricate things that are going to be a part of it that are going to play into it and that are going to keep it, going forward. And like I said, I feel that the death of the two guards, I think, is going to still play a pivotal role throughout the whole entire series, because it's always going to come back on Cassian because, that one time you killed those people, and they're going to use that as catalyst to basically, get him. So yeah, most definitely. I would say yes, that would play.
And they're the Empire, so they can do anything they want. They can say anything they want. They can lie about anything, right? They can make up charges. They can exaggerate shit, right? Like Cassian killed 1,000 of our soldiers on Ferrix, right? Like, they can say anything they want, basically, and it makes no difference. Their entire system is corrupt, right? They don't have a ethical aspect of anything they do, I don't think, really, when it boils down to it. To some extent, it's almost all based off of like evil and like villainous behavior and like mistreatment, right? And and abuse. But either way, folks, that would be, I suppose, the conclusion to our review of episode 3 of Andor. And we want to thank Jasmine for coming on with us tonight and whatnot. And shout out Stacy. We'll see you next week for episode 4, Stacy. We look forward to seeing you again. You've been great so far. And Stacy's a great person too. She's a good woman. And a good mom. And I can tell you right now, I checked out a couple of her podcast episodes, and some definite shit show vibe going on, man. So anyways, I'm just joking. I'm messing with you, Stacy. But no, Cybernetic Shark, my friend. As we head off here into the evening, what is going on as always with your individual content? Anything new popping up? Is there anything coming out right now anytime soon? Besides Marvel, besides the fandom shit, movie wise or anything and whatnot that you're focusing on, that you're going to be covering, or anything like that? TV series?
So, of course, if you enjoy me here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, definitely check out my solo content. You'll find me under Cybernetic Shark, of course. And on all different platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Rizzle, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those great places. But tomorrow, live at 12 p.m., you'll see my newest video pop up. It is the trailer reaction to the upcoming Disney Plus TV series, The Santa Clauses, starring the great Tim Allen. And Elizabeth Mitchell, Eric Lloyd, David Krumholtz is returning. That'll be popping up. I'll be having several videos pop up. Actually, I finally started getting them edited and ready to upload finally again. I've been busy. And but yeah, I have those coming up. My Black Panther Wakanda Forever review will be up soon. My Black Adam review solo content will be up soon as well. I do have See How They Run coming up for a review as well, which was a really fantastic film if you have not seen it. But I will be focusing a lot on trailer reactions. You'll see a lot of those coming out, some unboxing, stuff like that. And hopefully I'll be getting some more music reaction videos for you guys up soon, as well as 2 for that solo content. But my shorts are going strong. You'll find my shorts. Those are my little minute-long videos you can check out too as well. I recently was doing all the Saw films for those shorts. I'll be having a Pearl trailer reaction come out too as well. So yeah, you'll be having a whole bunch of cool stuff coming. So keep your eyes out for that stuff. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's get me to that 500 mark. I am currently at 417, so I have 83 more to go. So everyone that subscribes, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. And then do that. And also, I'll be doing a little giveaway, a free digital copy of something I have extra of. And so anybody new that is subscribing out there, please, on one of my videos, drop a comment, say I'm a new subscriber, and you will be entered into the drawing to win a amazing free digital. And currently I'm giving away the 2020 film, The Invisible Man. So keep your eyes out for that. I will do a little short on that eventually soon too. And yeah, so anybody from now till I'm doing it till the end of November, people that are subscribing. Once the end of November hits, I'll be doing the drawing beginning of December. So keep your eyes out for that, guys. And that's what I got.
Excellent. And basically, shit. I apologize. I had a really I put up a banner that said, "Come on, folks, give Cyber his 83 subs." The guy's a legend. Come on now. Shit. He's a content creation machine. So I'll have to vocally do it. Folks, come on now. If you can freaking blast us up to the damn freaking almost 10,000 mark on the bleeding edge and whatnot, subwise and shit, then I gotta believe that you could freaking take a minute and whatnot and push Cyber up to 1,000. Right? Come on now. I mean, just because Captain Breeze is his hero and whatnot is not a reason, okay, to eschew hitting that subscribe button. No, I'm joking, folks. Captain Bree is not Cyber's hero. You know, that is not true. Jar Jar Binks, of course, is Cyber's hero. Yes. You know, Bree is my hero. Captain Bree.
That's right. You know? She'll be in my my future sex tape.
Yes, most definitely. Imagine if there was a Jar Jar in Captain Bree sex tape.
Yeah.
There you go. Now that would be dope. And of course, Bree would be down for that because that would be inclusivity. That would be very inclusive.
Yep.
Banging Jar Jar. She'd do it for free.
Probably.
Jar Jar, this goddamn fucking weird ass alien penis and shit. Come on now, Jar Jar. Jesus Christ, Merry Christmas, baby. There you go, Bree. Merry Christmas. Here's my fucking coat hanger penis and shit. But no, folks, listen. We appreciate all of you, and like I said, help Cyber out and whatnot, right? Like, come on now. I'm gonna be out here. I'm gonna be pushing to make sure that he gets those 83 subs. He deserves them. And there'll be no bleeding edge without Cyber at the end of the day. We love Perry Ramsey to death, but he is like a ghost essentially of the bleeding edge at this point, as far as I'm concerned, right? Sadly. And but I still love him to death. Great guy, and I'll never forget him. He was a part of, you know, us becoming the bleeding edge. But overall, in general, I think that when it boils down to it, I don't think he probably would have been able to stick it through with me and Cyber anyway. I just don't think it would have happened. But we still love Perry. I'd love to record with him someday. I have no idea what the hell he's doing. Maybe he's hanging out with Jar Jar. But we love Andor so far. I know Cyber does. I do. Episode 3 was great. It was the best episode so far. I'm going to give it at least a 9.25. Solid. Straight up. What you got, Cyber?
I'll give it a 9.5.
There you go. There you go. Perfect. And now I'm not going to say anything about Wakanda Forever at this point, but our review of Wakanda Forever will be not this Wednesday coming up, but the Wednesday following, right? Which is, of course, if I can grab my phone real quick. There we go. I can actually look at the date. Is, of course, the
23rd.
23rd. On the 23rd, we're going to be doing our Wakanda Forever review. We'll be having a dope-ass panel, without question, because we have a lot of time till then. We might even have some of our buddies from the Podcast of Champions back over here. Arch might even be back, believe it or not, from the depths of, like, darkness or whatever. Lord Deathman may emerge. Who knows? Shit. We might even have, what's his name there, Kevin or whatever and whatnot, that can review movies and shit that he never watches. Back, just for the review. To add that special value that he was telling us about that night of the show. Like Hot Photo, my sister. Okay, yeah, okay, that's cool. I mean, I don't really know what that is supposed to do for me or whatever and whatnot, or why I would follow that link based off that, but that's cool. If you want to bang your sister, dude, whatever. Hey, that's very House of the Dragonish, without question. You should be a Targaryen. At that point, but no. Shout out to Cybernetic Shark. Shout out to Cybernetic Shark's individual content. And all the work he does and whatnot, all the work he puts in, and he's been really making a lot of effort lately. I've noticed. I'm sure y'all have too, to do some different stuff. He's pushing himself out, expanding himself out there, getting himself in the game in some different places and whatnot and everything. And I'm very impressed, and I respect the fuck out of that. I do, Cyber. I like seeing you freaking going out there trying to grind in the big leagues and shit and whatnot. Not afraid to. That's how we do it, baby. Bleeding edge style. We don't play kid games here. I mean, hey, we're very subtle about our shit, but we ain't playing here, kids, folks. We ain't playing. Just to be clear. You better watch out there, folks. All your YouTube channels and podcasts out there, and our niche and whatnot and shit. We're out there. We ain't playing. We're competing with you right now at this point. You're fucking with us. You know what I'm saying? And hey, believe me, you're not as entertaining as we are at all. You're not. Some of you are close, but you're not there. It never will be, unfortunately. But again, shout out to the fandom, Marvel fandom, MCU fandom, Star Wars fandom, all the fandoms. Shout out to all of them. Fuck She-Hulk completely. And Tatiana Maslany, fuck her too. And fuck Jessica Gao completely. Without question, double fuck her. Right? And besides that, folks, thank you again for all of you wonderful people out there that continue to love the shit out of our live discussional shows after they're actually on YouTube as regular videos. You guys are great. Thank you so much for carrying our subs up so high. The shit is humbling as hell. Loving it. It's awesome. And hey, it's awesome being on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, baby. With my co-host, Cybernetic Shark, I am Jeff S. True Knowledge. And Jar Jar Binks, unfortunately, is not here tonight. But we will see you, of course, for the finale of the Rings of Power next Wednesday. The finale, baby. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. And shit, as far as right now goes, for Sunday, it's going to be a mystery show. Who knows, man? Could be crazy. You don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? Don't even know. But take care. God bless you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later. Peace.